I get it. When you're about to drop a few thousand on a new gaming laptop, you start second-guessing everything. You wonder if the screen will actually make a difference in those darkroom sessions, if the GPU can keep up with the latest titles without throttling, and whether the machine will still feel snappy when you switch to school projects or video editing. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've spent the last week juggling a couple of laptops, reading forums, and watching a handful of YouTubers dissect the same specs. So let me walk you through why the Lenovo Legion 5 with an OLED panel and an RTX 5060 might be the right or wrong fit for you. First off, the most noticeable thing about this Legion is the 15.1-inch WQXGA OLED display that pushes a 165Hz refresh rate. In real life, that translates to buttery smooth motion when you're sprinting through a battle royale, but it also means colors pop when you're watching a Netflix series or editing a YouTube thumbnail. I tested the screen on a rainy afternoon in my apartment, switching between a dark indie horror game and a bright open-world adventure. The OLED's deep blacks made the horror game genuinely tense, while the high refresh rate kept the open world feeling fluid, even when I cranked the settings up. If you're the type who cares about visual fidelity as much as frame rates, that combo is a serious plus. Now, let's talk about the heart of the machine, the AMD Ryzen 7 processor paired with the NVIDIA RTX 5068 GB GDDR7 GPU. In most benchmark videos you'll see the RTX 5060 sit a step below the RTX 3060, but the newer GDDR7 memory gives it a modest edge in bandwidth. In practice, I ran Cyberpunk 2077 on medium-high settings, and the average frame rate hovered around 62 frames per second, which is perfectly playable on a 165Hz screen. When I swapped to a more demanding title like Elden Ring, the FPS dipped into the high 40s, but the game remained smooth enough that I didn't feel the dip. For streamers, the laptop also includes Lenovo's AI-assisted Boost FPS mode, which automatically nudges the GPU clock when you're streaming and gaming simultaneously. I tried a quick test on Twitch while playing Valorant, and the stream stayed at 60 frames per second with no visible stutter on my end. Memory and storage are where the Legion balances practicality with cost. 16 GB of DDR5 RAM feels ample for modern games and multitasking. I could keep Chrome tabs, Discord, and the game client open without any noticeable slowdowns. The 512 GB SSD, though, is where the trade-off shows up. Modern AAA titles can easily eat up 100 GB each, and with a single drive you're forced to be selective. I found myself uninstalling a game I'd just finished to make room for a new release, which isn't ideal if you like to keep a library ready to go. The good news is the laptop has an extra M.2 slot, so you can add another drive later without opening the case too much, but that extra cost is something to factor in if you plan to store a lot of games locally. Connectivity is a hidden win in this model. Wi-Fi 7 support means you'll get lower latency and higher throughput on a compatible router, which is a subtle but real advantage if you're into competitive online play. I ran a 5 GHz test on a dual-band router and saw a consistent 150 megabits per second download speed, which is more than enough for streaming 4K content while gaming. The LAN port is still there, so you can always fall back to a wired connection for the most stable ping during tournaments. Battery life is a reality check for any gaming laptop, and the Legion is no exception. With the OLED panel cranked to full brightness and the GPU under load, I was looking at roughly 2 hours of gameplay before the charger kicked in. That's not a deal-breaker if you plan to stay plugged in, but it does mean you shouldn't expect marathon sessions on the couch without a power outlet nearby. On the other hand, for everyday tasks like browsing, writing papers, or watching videos, the batteries stretch to about 6 hours, which is respectable for a machine of this size. Now, who should actually consider buying this laptop? If you're a college student who needs a portable machine that can handle both your coursework and weekend gaming marathons, the Legion hits a sweet spot. The OLED screen is great for design work, the CPU can compile code or run simulations without grinding, and the GPU is powerful enough for most current games at 1080p or even 1440p if you lower a few settings. It's also a solid choice for streamers who want a built-in solution that doesn't require a separate capture card. Lenovo's software integrates the webcam and microphone nicely, and the RGB backlight gives you that on-brand look without extra accessories. Conversely, if you're a professional gamer chasing ultra-high frame rates on a 4K monitor, the RTX 5060 will feel limiting. You'd probably be better off with a higher-tier GPU like the RTX 3070 Ti, which the Legion line does offer in other configurations, but